quantify for me to date the impact of China tariffs on Apple's bottom line?
Yeah, we view it right now in terms of the stock, it's about $20 to $25 overhang in terms of on the stock. Now, in terms of EPS and trying to get into the fundamentals, thus far it's really been tepid. It comes down to that December 15th tariff. Once that kicks in, which we believe they absorb that piece, that'll be about 4% hit to EPS if that goes through. And ultimately, if that continues, they'll ultimately have to pass that to the U.S. consumer. And we think at that point, you could lose about 6 to 8 million iPhone units in the U.S., given higher price points.
Jun, let me come to you. What is your take on the impact so far on China tariffs?
I think the tariff on the AirPods, tablets, and iWatch has been affected in September 1st. So we do see in the supply chain perspective that Apple speed up the shipment of those products in August. So we believe that after the holiday season inventory build, the Apple shipments for those products will slow down in Q4. And also for the iPhone, we think that this time Apple launched 3 models at the same time in September compared with last year. They launched the iPhone XR in October. So we believe that's also changed a little bit seasonality for Apple shipment this year. So Q3 a little bit above normal seasonal, and Q4 going to be below seasonal. So that's why we have concern that even before the tariff happened in December, Apple iPhone shipment will slow down in October and November timeframe.
Dan, you said that eventually Apple could pass these costs down onto the consumer at a, let's say on average, $1,000 per phone. How much more can they pass on to the consumer?
That's the question. I mean, we do believe it's about $100 to $110 in terms of what the average iPhone would go up if the tariffs come in. And that's why right now they continue to be the poster child for the U.S.-China UFC trade battle, which is why also today was so important in terms of putting growth in the tank in terms of iPhone 11, looking at the services piece as this continues to be a black cloud in terms of the tariffs over Cupertino.
Jun, were you surprised today that there was no mention of the China tariffs? I thought maybe Tim Cook would touch on it a little bit or try to brush it off. Any surprise that it was a non-event?
I think looking at their iPhone 11, the retail price is $50 lower than the iPhone XR. I think that's probably gave a little bit room for the tariff happen in December. And also, I think right now, I think they're trying to speed up the shipment to the U.S. market. So probably before the tariff happened in December, they can build enough inventory for the holiday season and also for the little bit of Q1 season for the Q1 sales.
So Jun, when you talk about that price at about $7 versus last year $7.50, is that getting ahead of tariffs or is that maintaining or defending market share?
I think if you look at iPhone XR last year, the retail price was about $750 US. But quickly in the first half this year, Apple dropped the price, I think 35% lower. So actually, the iPhone XR price is more attractive compared with iPhone 11. And I think even you put a 15% tariff in December, I think people would still go for iPhone XR instead of iPhone 11. So I think
Dan,
XR, yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. Dan, let me come to you quickly. What do you take of iPhone market share? And are we seeing more Huawei purchases in China as they start to get defensive and become perhaps maybe a little bit more nationalistic as well?
Yeah, look, I think the bark's been worse than the bite there, but no doubt, you look at the price cut, this is focused on China. 60 to 70 million iPhones in China are coming up for an upgrade, and especially given what you're seeing in China, that's the price cut was really Apple doubling down, going after China. You look at XR, fundamentally that was a swing and miss. And that's why ultimately China is key to Apple moving higher, not just from a supply perspective, demand's going to be key. That's why today I view it as a step in the right direction. And I think investors, that continue to view this with a glass half empty, they're going to continue to prove the doubters wrong. And Cupertino came out swinging today.
Even though they don't have 5G and Huawei and Samsung do?
Well, 5G, that's 2020, and I think it comes down to the install base. You got 1.4 billion iOS devices. This is an install-based story, and that's why many that have missed this story over the last, call it 6 to 9 months, you go back 6 to 7 months ago, the New York City cab driver was negative on Apple. But yet the stock continues to move up, and I think it just shows it's an install-based story. That's the golden jewel. That's the core of our bull thesis.